Fourth graders. So for our social studies lesson this week, we are learning about Columbus's exploration into the New World and the other motivations and explanations for the European exploration of the Americas. So yesterday you watched a read aloud of the book Encounter, where the child gave his side of the story of Columbus landing in the New World. So after that, you might have had some questions. One of them being, why did Columbus want to come to the New World? So when we think about Columbus and the other European explorers during this time, we like to think of the three G's. The three G's stand for God, gold, and glory. So in the 15th and 16th century, the three main reasons that people left their European countries and traveled over to the New World, aka the Americas, they were motivated by God, gold, and glory. So out of these three G's, the one that might be the most familiar to you is gold. We know that gold was very valuable in this time period, and it still is. So this is one of the main reasons that inspired them to come over to the Americas in search. And the other two are God and glory. So you might not have picked up on it, but in the book Encounter, we did see these three examples. So in the book Encounter, we saw references to God when the narrator said they gave their souls to their gods. We saw gold mentioned when the explorers touched the Taino's gold rings and armbands, and when the explorers got the gift of tobacco. And we saw glory when the explorers were claiming the land for their king and their queen. So now we're going to take a closer look at the three G's. So the first one we're going to start with is gold. So the explorers could become incredibly wealthy if they found gold or had access to gold. So some might trade goods with people in the new lands they discovered. For example, spices, ivory, and slaves were traded. Others might be rewarded by the king or queen for their efforts with money or land on their return home. Others might steal from the people they met, taking their treasures or other items of great value. So these are three different examples of how gold ties into the motivations. So not all of them are very positive, as you see stealing and trading slaves and all of that. That had a big impact on many people's lives, and it disrupted the way of life for the people who were living in the Americas before these explorers came over. The next example refers back to God. So at this time period, Christianity was the dominant religion in Europe during the Age of Discovery. So some reasons that people might explore with the motivation of God would be to spread the word of God, and this was considered a very important way of showing your faith. So these people would want to travel to new places and spread the messages that they believed in. In other parts of the world, like Africa and Asia, explorers set out to spread Islam to new lands. And interactions between the two religions were not always peaceful. So just like we learned about with the gold example, it didn't always have positive sides to it. There was also very negative sides to the God aspect of the motivation. And lastly, we have glory. So glory is when you do something for maybe recognition or the fame from it. So some explorers traveled to become very famous. So explorers would be treated like celebrities on their return home. So if they went over and conquered all this new land and spread their ideas and found gold, they would have all of this recognition when they came back. And people from all walks of life would want to hear about your adventures in far-off lands. So this is just a brief explanation of the three reasons that the explorers came over to the Americas.